Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined in the studio as well by Mr. Xander Cooper. Good evening, Xander.
Good evening, Rob. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have... We normally do the interviews over the phone like we just did with Ben, but it's good to have someone here in the studio to talk face-to-face with. I
always love coming in doing these sorts of things, whether it be radio or just like interviews in general. I'm up for doing whatever, so I'm happy to be here.
Much appreciated. Right, so let's get straight into it. You are the reigning LCW champion of Leicester Championship Wrestling, our local promotion. You're the man, you're the champ, you're the guy with the big gold belt. So, I'm kind of interviewing the wrestling champion of Leicestershire.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah,
I have been somewhat dominant recently in LCW, so as their champion, I do like to have a certain amount of, prestige about me, and that's...
Too right.
Yes.
Too right. Carry it with pride. So, quickly, for any of our listeners that don't know, because we still have a few listeners that aren't massively into the British scene, and there's a few names they may not understand, which I'm sure you appreciate. Explain a little bit about the history of Xander Cooper, where you've come from, when you decided to be a wrestler, and your path up to where you are now.
Well, originally, I'm from Manchester.
Yeah.
I started off my wrestling career in Future Shock Wrestling. I started training at their school under Dave Rain and Sam Bailey.
Nice.
And over the years, I sort of got my name out onto the northern scene for companies like Future Shock, obviously, GPW, and just like various other promotions, like one-off sort of thing. And Future Shock is essentially my home.
Yes,
that's my home promotion. I love doing that, and then I started going to Coventry University, which obviously meant moving down from Manchester to Coventry, and started training at WAR.
Yeah.
At WAR, which is the rugby promotion. Got on shows there, and the promoter of Leicester Championship Wrestling decided to start off. He contacted me about being involved on shows, and from there, pretty much...
a path straight through to the championship.
Yes, straight through to the championship, yes.
That's a great... Did you find a massive difference? Because I always believe there's a north-south divide with wrestling in this country. Did you find a huge difference coming down from Future Shock to WAR to LCW? And
I think generally on the British scene there is a north-south divide, and for the most part the Midlands, when I first came here, seemed very sort of secluded from the rest of the scene, but it's a very close-knit sort of, all the wrestlers know each other.
Yeah, very much so.
It's the same as it is up north and in the south. I mean, you tend to get wrestlers that are booked on the same shows, etc. But that adds to the scene, in my opinion, that sort of community aspect. And it's one of those things where it helps British wrestling stronger, that community sense, and you really get that feeling when you go to shows.
Yeah.
But of course there are wrestlers that do wrestle all over the country. I mean, Rockstar Spud is a prime example of that.
And he's a Midland-based lad as well, isn't he? Spud's from Birmingham, yeah.
Yeah, he's from Birmingham, but obviously works for NGW up in Hull, but he also does places like Southside and...
everywhere and anywhere in between, doesn't he, really? Exactly. Spud just gets up... Well, didn't turn up for Southside last weekend.
Yeah.
But that's not the first time he's done that either.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the Scarlo Scholarship then, because you conveniently left that out of your story, and to me that's quite a big part of it.
It is a big part. It's something that I really should have spent a lot of detail on, so thank you for giving me that opportunity.
And I've done my research.
Yeah. The Scarlo Scholarship is like it is. It's a scholarship that was brought forward by the British Wrestling Council to give to students who were outstanding performers, upcoming stars in the scene, to help them get better. So it's all about nurturing that talent, giving them free training, access to mentorship. Throughout the year that I had it, I was mentored by Alex Shane and Justin Richards, and that has really sort of honed my abilities. And with that, I got training. I got free training at Future Shock, so I was there for quite a bit before I moved to Coventry, obviously. The Scarlet Scholarship is really one of the proudest achievements that I have under my belt, as it were.
Yeah.
Because it represented to me that people within the BWC have recognised my talent and have said, yeah, he's one of the rising stars. Let's give him somebody they can roll with, and that's one of the reasons why we brought in the Scarlet belts, so that students would have something tangible to walk around with and say, I have this, I'm recognised as the champion.
A belt that means something.
Yeah, exactly. Giving the Scarlet Scholarship the prestige that it deserves, and now that it's become a fully fledged championship, as it were. It's been defended. I've defended it all over the country, in Wales, in Manchester, and in London now. It's become one of the main belts for Progress Wrestling.
Wow,
actually, yeah,
Progress Wrestling as well. Again, Jim Smallman, the guy that runs that, Leicester lad. He's based from around here.
Exactly, yeah. The rich heritage coming from the Midlands.
Definitely, very much so, including me and you now, Xander.
Yes.
Where was I going to go? So the British Wrestling Council, you're still quite involved with them, aren't you? You mentioned Alex Shane and Justin Richards and that. Is the council still... I'm a little bit out of touch with the Wrestling Council. Is it still up and running? Is it still active?
It is still up and running. At the moment, it is kind of going through a restructuring, making sure that, that it's running smoothly. There was talk recently of restructuring the syllabus that we have in place, and just generally making sure that if companies do ask, we do have the facilities to help them.
Yes.
Like I say, Alex Shane is obviously one of the better known and more successful promoters in British wrestling. He definitely has the experience to help promotions if they need it, and that's part of what the BWC was about. If promotions wanted help, then the BWC would be there to help them, give them advice with risk assessment forms, promoting shows, what best to do things.
I think insurances came under
Insurance was one of the big things that the BWC really helped wrestlers get through, particularly on the trainee level. Trainees could get individual insurance under the BWC, and even under the BWC, we managed to actually get pro wrestling recognised by Equity.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, Equity, I believe, is Europe's biggest actors union.
Yes, yeah.
And they decided that to recognise professional wrestling as a performance art, and that wrestlers could actually come under that union and
the rights that come with the union as well.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it's very important to mention in this conversation that before the BWC was set up, and it's really only, was it 2 years old now, 18 months old?
3 years old now?
Yeah, it's not... Before that, there was nothing, was there? There was no syllabus to becoming a professional wrestler. There was no grading system, no insurance. It really was a little bit... British wrestling had slumped between, say, 1990 to where we are today.
I'd agree with that, yeah. The BWC has helped. It has helped massively, uniting the scene, uniting promoters, uniting wrestlers, to really help the scene. And like I say, give it a community sense to it, not just within the workers, but within the fans as well. One of the things that I sort of realised today, as I was sort of thinking of stuff to talk about, is that the North and South and the Midlands, although they're relatively closed off from one another.
Yes,
there is that community sense of fans that do go to every promotion, and
very much so.
It is that community sense. That's the sort of thing that the BWC wants to promote within British wrestling, wants to help within British wrestling.
And like you say, you got guys like Spurd and T-Bone and Styx that may be based in certain towns, but are quite willing to go everywhere I know. I mean, I've worked in... I'm using myself as an example, but I've worked from here in Harborough, went up to Wakefield to do UKW. Thought nothing of it. You just get in the car and go up and do it, and you guys are the same, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, on the travelling aspect, I mean, I've worked companies in London, I've worked companies in Manchester, I've worked companies in the North East and in South Wales. I mean, it's a part of wrestling that needs to be done, but it's that travelling that unites people, and again.
And plus, it's part of wrestling history. Any wrestling, I mean, Britain is a relatively small place in terms of. You can get to any part of Britain within 3-4 hours, can't you? when you look at the American wrestlers who are doing the same, the American independent wrestlers and Japanese to an extent, they're doing the same thing, just covering a lot more distance.
Yeah.
And even I would say Australian independent wrestlers, there's a lot more distance to travel. We should consider ourselves lucky to have that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think last time I checked, like, Britain had the most promotions per square mile.
Wouldn't surprise me. Every blooming town's got a promotion at the moment, haven't they? Except for Market Harbour, strangely enough.
Yeah, strange enough.
Isn't a Market Harbour wrestling promotion? Not yet. So, let's talk LCW, because LCW is going from strength to strength. You just defended your title against Johnny Breeze. Was it last weekend?
Yeah, just this
last weekend, yeah. And obviously you were successful.
Obviously.
All right. How was that for you?
It was a very fun match. It was one of those... Johnny Breeze is a very young talent who I've trained with, and I've always wanted to have a match with him. So having the chance to defend my belt against him was a huge privilege for me. The match was phenomenal. I urge everyone to buy the DVD, check it out. And it's just from an LCW standpoint, I love working LCW because it's got the venue's fantastic. The promotion is brilliant. Everything about LCW screams greatness. It just needs that more. It needs more exposure for the fans. That's what it needs now.
Definitely. That's something we're trying to do here on HFM. And of course, the next LCW show, which is July 7th.
July 7th. Summertime.
A massive thing is happening. We spoke to John, the promoter, last week, and he's announced that the BBC are coming down to Leicester Championship Wrestling to film a documentary on LCW and the surrounding. As, I don't want to say a veteran of British wrestling, but somebody who's very active in the British wrestling scene, how important is that to have a BBC showing an interest in a British wrestling promotion?
This is massive mainstream exposure. Obviously, the BBC is a national institution, and for them to recognise British wrestling again and give it that mainstream exposure, it's not just beneficial for LCW; it's beneficial for the entire scene. I mean,
it just shows. For me personally, I think it shows that people in the entertainment world are aware that we're there. They're aware that British wrestling is there. It's drawing crowds, and it's drawing crowds without mainstream exposure. They're kind of, the way I see it, we're doing it ourselves without TV. We've got the internet, we've got YouTube, we've got all these different ways of doing it, and we live in a world where light entertainment is king. You've got X Factor, you've got Strictly Come Dancing, you've got ice skating, you've got Britain's Got Talent. The only thing that's missing is wrestling, which is the oldest form of entertainment that we've got.
Yeah, and wrestling has always been an institution within British entertainment.
Very much so.
For like World of Sport days, it was hugely popular, and as you mentioned earlier, it went through a dip, but like it is growing again, and it is coming back through companies like LCW, Southside, Future Shock, NGW, and
plenty of them.
There's just loads. There's so many great promotions out there, and this BBC documentary is going to help give the British scene more exposure, more needed exposure for the mainstream. Yeah,
I think what an honour for them to choose LCW. And I'm going to announce now, because John said I can have the announcement.
Of course.
I am ring announcing that show. I took a little gap from ring announcing. I did one show at UKW up in Watford. Like I said, this is going to be my second ring announcing show. And I'm going to be ring announcing for LCW in July. That's getting filmed for the BBC. I couldn't be happier. I mean, you must be the same. You must be... This is huge. To go into this as the champion of what would arguably be the first British promotion to get on TV. I mean, obviously UKW does get on TV, IPW gets on TV, and I don't want to take that away from them. But to get on the BBC, is it the first wrestling promotion on the BBC ever? Because World of Sport was an ITV show.
It could be.
It's very possible this is the first ever wrestling show on the BBC. I will look into that.
Yeah, it could well be, yes.
But how amazing is that?
It is phenomenal. Unlike it's phenomenal for LCW, and it is. That this is the sort of thing that LCW has been craving since its inception.
Yes, definitely.
A year ago. LCW in particular has got such a great talent pool, not just myself, but guys like Styx, Tommy Gunn,
LJ Herron,
friend
of the show.
Love LJ, he's a great guy. But like the talent pool and the venue and just like the feel of the show itself, it's just been screaming for more attention.
They've got a lot of decent production values as well, the video screens and stuff like that, and the DVDs. I know John doesn't sleep pretty much when he's promoting this show.
No, he's constantly doing stuff, whether it be match graphics, putting the DVDs together, editing,
phoning me, telling me how good he is.
John is a very hard-working promoter.
Another thing, he's also given us the exclusive. We can announce who you're going to be facing. I don't even think it's gone out to the Facebook page yet.
No, this will be the first announcement, if I may.
You may, yeah. Please. We love announcements. We love exclusives.
For the first time ever, Xander Cooper will be defending the LCW Championship against one of his former mentors and one of the guys who really started him off in the business in super styling Sam Bailey.
How does that feel for you? For the guy that trained you, because we haven't mentioned that you train at the LCW school. You do the head training.
Yeah, I mean, if LCW has its own training school, but obviously I'm the head trainer. That's every Saturday 12 till 2 at Brockington College. For me, wrestling Sam Bailey, it's incredible. It's an incredible. When John first told me that was who I was facing, I was overjoyed because this isn't just another big name that LCW is bringing in. This is someone who really helped me at the start of my career. Someone who believed in me. Someone who would take me aside and say, you should do this. You should do this. You should maybe change this. But overall, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like for me to be wrestling him, defending my belt on this show where the BBC are going to be there, it's such a big deal for me. And
you're going to want to beat him, aren't you?
Oh,
you are going to want to show yourself how you've come, aren't you?
This is me. This is going to be me at my best.
Wow.
I have to be at my best on this show, and I definitely will.
Well, you've got a couple of months to get ready. We've got a month to get ready for, a month and a week to get ready. So lots of gym, lots of protein, no carbs, all that malarkey. This is why I got into ring announcing. It's so much easier. There's no workout involved. Drink of water before and you're fine. So, Xander, we were talking off there. You said you're a huge fan of the British scene. Do you get to go to many other shows? I mean, obviously, you're trying to get bookings here, there and everywhere. But do you get to go to any shows as a fan? Or are you still involved
I do occasionally. I do... for the most part within British wrestling, a lot of promotions are quite innovative and use the internet very wisely. They post matches, post promos, video packages, etc. So that's probably the main way I check out the scene. But I mean, like, what I found myself doing, like particularly over the past year, is I watched less WWE, TNA, and I pretty much just watch Britich wrestling because that's what I want to watch. I want to see what the rest of the country's doing. I want to see what storylines are happening, who's wrestling, who's the upcoming stars, and that. I hope this is coming across quite arrogant because
no. That's what happens. I found myself doing exactly the same thing when I'm looking for interviews for people. I want the best people I can get. I'm
just so passionate about British wrestling and helping it get better. And I wish I could do more, whether it be through my performance or just like backstage work. I'm such a believer in everything that's happening in British wrestling right now.
I genuinely believe it's getting bigger and bigger as well. I mean,
getting bigger all the time.
You mentioned the work of Alex Shane, who has put a decade in of laying the groundwork. We had a couple of weeks ago Jonathan Ross at Lucha Britannia. All in the newspapers, everyone's talking about it. Twitter's abuzz with it. And then the amount of podcasts we have on British wrestling, the amount of promotions we have, like we said, IPW in Scotland are getting on TV, UKW getting on TV, LCW now on the BBC. It's just, even World of Sport is still on TV.
Exactly. It's the scene is poised, it's ready to explode.
Yeah, very much so.
And, I can say, like Jonathan Ross with Lucha Britannia, it was
massive.
Huge. It's such a big deal, and again, that's the sort of exposure that British wrestling now needs to take it to that next level. Yeah, and that's what LCW has here.
I think very much so. I mean, all it takes is someone. I use the name as a cliche, but someone like Simon Cowell with the drive, the imagination, and the cash flow to put in it and turn it into not a clone of American wrestling, but British wrestling.
Yeah. Definitely.
Exactly, to make it into its own little beast. And I genuinely believe it's going to happen. I genuinely believe, like I said, Shane's put in 10 years of hard work, and the fruits of his labour are guys like yourself, all the BWC graduates, the council itself, people like me who are just glorified fanboys with a microphone in front of them. But that's the truth.
It's there. The scene's, like I say, is constantly getting better. Wrestlers are always getting better. Bookers and promoters are always getting better. We're ready. We just need someone to say, right, you're ready. Let's do this.
Run with it.
Yeah, and let's run with it. Let's do this. Let's make it big again.
I have a standard question, Xander, that I ask every interview. Are you aware of my standard question?
I'm not aware, no.
Wow. Who is your favourite wrestler and why?
That's a good one. There are many answers that I could possibly give. Immediately, names like Chris Hero, Naomichi Marufuji are running through my head.
Two names have not been mentioned yet as well.
Yeah, this is a good one. I think like I'm going to try and talk to myself so that I can
go for it.
Over in my head. I mean, for me, like I have sort of various influences within wrestling. Like I take inspiration from Chris Hero's hard work ethic and innovation of Marufuji. God, who would I choose? It's going to sound a bit cliche, and I'm sure a lot of wrestlers have already said him, but Shawn Michaels for me.
Do you know what? Only the second person to say it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And do you know who the first was?
Who?
John Shipley.
Oh, really? What a coincidence.
No wonder you're his champion.
Yeah, I mean, Shawn Michaels for me is the one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. And like I watch like his matches all the time, and like I just learn from him and learn from the way he moves, the way he structures his matches, and just everything about Shawn Michaels screams greatness. And I think that's just why I have to say that he is my number one pick.
The one thing with Shawn Michaels, to intervene, the one thing with Shawn Michaels that really made it for me was the moment, and I know you'll have seen it, when he gave Bret Hart the hug, when Bret Hart came back to the WWE, and as he walked away, he just shifted his weight to one foot.
That little shit.
And I was like, is he going to super kick him? And then just went, and I was like, well, it's the little details like that make a difference.
It's those tiny things that make a great wrestler. It really is, and that's why I would choose him. Genuinely is. He's such a good performer. I genuinely don't think I've seen him have a bad match ever.
No, to be fair, there's this whole host of great wrestlers on the list that have had, even your greats like Bret Hart have had bad matches.
Yeah, I've very rarely see Shawn Michaels have a bad match, as it were. So
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to be drawing the interview to a close because we're getting up to almost time for the news. Xander, obviously we've got LCW promoted on the show all the time, but if someone wants to get in touch with you, find out a little bit more about you personally and what you're all about, Twitter, Facebook,
for Twitter, Peeps. Did I really just say the word Peeps?
Peeps.
Yeah. For people on Twitter, you can follow me at the Xander Cooper. If you want to go on Facebook, there's my Facebook page, the Xander Cooper.
I'll put a link to the Facebook page on
and my email address, which is on both my Twitter and Facebook accounts. Like if anyone wants to speak to me about anything BWC or bookings, hint. Then Facebook and Twitter is definitely the best way to go about it.
I've just had a tweet come in actually from the Heat, LJ Heron himself.
Oh yes.
Ask soon-to-be former LCW wrestling champ Xander Cooper if he's worried about his reign after my win over Styx.
LJ Heron, I am not worried about you at all. I've already beaten you once in a tables match. I am sure that I'm more than capable of doing it again. So once I've beaten Sam Bailey, and July 7th at summertime. If you want a match, you can have a match, but you will not be successful. So bring it on.
That's the second feud LJ Heron has started on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, the legend, the man for all seasons, Xander Cooper, LCW champion as well, defending his belt at LCW Summertime, July 7th. And it's so important to mention, it's being filmed for the BBC. Xander, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Rob.